watching Thrifty Kaniffy. Hello everyone and welcome to Thrifty Kaniffy. Well, today I've got something a little bit controversial for you guys today. It's a little bit difficult to describe, so please, give me an opportunity to try to explain what it is that we have here. It's not as obvious as it may seem. The obvious is that, we've got a 5-inch lockback here, and we've got some really nice stag bone handles. And you're probably wondering, well, all right, who makes this? This is made by Schrade, sort of. So what it is, you get this little certificate of authenticity with the knife, and I'm going to include a picture at the end that will give you opportunity to really get a good look at it. So I'm not going to read it aloud, but basically what it says is, it goes through the history of Schrade, and that this was one of the final knives produced in the Ellenville, New York factory. Okay, that's not really entirely true. That's a little bit misleading. Well, it's a lot misleading, actually. What I've come to determine that this is a Chinese assembled knife with Schrade parts. Okay, so when they closed their doors in 2004, Schrade then was selling to tailors eventually, and their machining, I don't even know where that went, because tailors did not buy the machining for the knives, as I understand it. But they probably had a lot of parts left over and a lot of things that they had still been working on. And I think that parts were then shipped to Asia, and then this knife was assembled there. So it has U.S. parts, but assembled in China. That's the best I can make of this knife. Okay, so when you buy it from Smoky Mountain Knife Works, it just says Schrade USA Lockback or something to that effect, and they give you this little certificate, and then they push it on you as if it was a last production knife. But when you flip it over or you look at it, examine it, the website or the knife itself, it has a China sticker on it. So, well, which is it, China or USA, a last production? What it is, as far as I know, is, like I said, a U.S., all USA parts produced in the Ellenville plant, and then when they closed, the remaining parts were bought up by someone, and that's the big mystery. Who was responsible for doing that? Was it, like a group of different people, and then it was, made available through different outlets, because Smoky Mountain Knife Works is not the only ones that's selling this knife. I think it's, coming through maybe one distributor possibly, but multiple retail outlets are making this knife available. And it's been made available, I guess, for a long time probably. I don't really know. If you go on the forums and you investigate, like, the hardcore Schrade fans who are very, very jaded against anything Chinese, so you have to sort of take all their comments with a grain of salt, because they're not looking at things very objectively. They just trash this knife and say that the certificate is, basically toilet paper, and that it's not worth the print that's on it. And I agree that there's certainly some definite call into question what the authenticity really means for this certificate. They could make this for anything, and there's nothing tying the piece of paper to the knife in any particular way. There's no serial number or anything else. So, they could just print these up, no big deal. But I want to point out one thing. It does say that this knife is among the last knives to run through regular production in the Ellenville, New Jersey factory. You could kind of look at that as semantics. I know in the manufacturing world we often differentiate between production and assembly. So, have they really lied there? Yeah, kind of misleading, right? But again, I think these are made in China. Well, they're definitely made in China. They can't be both USA and China at the same time. So they either have to be USA parts made in China or Chinese parts made in America, and since that plant had already closed when these things were produced, in my opinion, it had to be the other way around. So, USA parts made in China. So that's what we're looking at here. And again, like if you go look on the forums, they rip this knife to shreds and say it's, not authentic and blah, 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 blah. And we get into the whole Chinese American debate and the whole political thing, which I absolutely am completely opposed to talking about, just because and there's no right or wrong, and everyone's going to have their different opinion about it, and no one's going to really come to an agreement on it. And I just feel like it's a debate that's been, beaten to death. So I'm not going to go there with that. I'm just going to judge this knife on the merits alone of the knife for what it is. And when you look at the knife, you've got the USA blade. It's Schrade Plus, so it's going to be a 7CR17 blade. And I believe the numbering on here refers to knives typically had this blade where scrimshaw style knives are special, commemorative knives. So when you got this blade, that kind of told you that it was not an ordinary, ordinary Schrade. It had fancy handles, basically. Either scrimshaw or some other sort of non-standard production handle on it. Yeah. So that's kind of, I think, what that blade means. Now, you guys that are experts about Schrade, maybe you can correct me on that. I don't claim to be an expert on all things Schrade. I'm just sort of trying to review the knife and want to kind of explain what it is from my best understanding. But again, I admittedly have not spent tons and tons of times trying to research exactly what this is. I'm simply trying to tell you that, made in China, the certificate says one thing, but in reality it's kind of something else. So, what else about this? Okay, so most manufacturers I've seen, or not manufacturers, I'm sorry, other retail places that are selling this knife, it looks like you can get it with a drop point blade as well, or with the clip point. You kind of have your option there. But the other places I saw it were all selling it for like $80. Smoky Mountain Knife Works has this for $40, and that's what intrigued me about it. It's like, well, how can I get a true, authentic, genuine Stag handle, 5-inch lockback for $40? Not really completely interested in the whole historic significance of the Chinese USA thing. I just thought the knife itself was intriguing, so that's what made me pull the trigger on it. And it's bulk packed, right? So it doesn't come with any kind of packaging. It simply came wrapped in this bubble wrap, and then on the certificate was in this little bag, and on this little wrapping there was this UPC label, which you can see it says Schrade Stag LO, which I believe stands for Lockback SCH5. So that's all the more packaging we have available for it. So obviously not a, Schrade produced knife in a box that was sold in a normal fashion at retail. This was a bulk, thing, so probably, whatever the business end of it was, essentially just sold in bulk and produced in some unknown Chinese OEM over there, and given the parts to put it together. So that's what I know about it. But what's definite about it is that it's a really nice knife. Not going to be perfect here. You've got really large, pretty decent sized gaps there between the bolsters and the Stag. But I don't know that even a Schrade produced knife would be a whole lot better than that. Maybe they are. I don't have one to compare it to. Not like this anyway. You can see that these are very thick bolsters on it, right? So like their high-end Schrade release, like I said, they're special edition style knives that they had, made from those style parts. If you compare the bolster shapes to the ones that are produced now, they're pretty darn similar, except for the fact of their thickness. Like if you look at a 70T, for example, an old timer, 70T, which is the same dimensions, it's not as thick. The bolsters are, they're all one piece, right? They're integrated. So you have the bolster and the liner all one piece. There's not a separation between the two. And you're not going to have that on the Chinese-made, Battenfield style old timers. So this is definitely, Schrade parts. Just pretty obvious. They're Schrade USA parts. Alright, so once we've got that out of the way, what do we got? Well, we've got a 7CR17 blade here with a nail neck that's pretty standard sized. Nice little hollow grind there on the lower edge of the blade, or lower half of the blade, and it's got a pretty decent edge on it. And this side has much the same. So very attractive clip point blade, pretty much standard, like on any Schrade USA made knife that you would see made in, say, the probably late 80s to 2000s. I don't think they've changed much. But yeah, real genuine Stag handles. You can see how thick those are, how nice that is. All right. Nice smooth action on the movement. Needed a little bit of cleaning, a little dirty, a little gritty, and it definitely improved the action a lot when I cleaned it up a bit. You just needed to get some of the gunk out of the pivot there, especially down towards the spring. That little point down there where the spring and the tang meet is kind of like the critical point to get clean on a lot of these lockback knives. You're just going to have a lot of grit in there, so this needs a little cleaning. But aside from that, I mean, this knife is just simply wonderful. It's very bulky. I mean, you definitely have to probably carry this one in a sheath. This is just going to be a little too much for the pocket, unless you got really, multiple pockets or something on some cargo pants or something like that in your front top pocket. You're not going to want to probably carry this. It's running at 7.6 ounces there, so it's heavier than even a buck 110. Recently measured a buck with 10, and they're typically between like 6.7 and 7.2 depending on the age. So I mean, this is well heavier than typical buck 10. And if that China sticker bugs you, which I'm not going to leave it on there forever. I left it on there for comprehension of the background of the knife, but eventually when I use it, I'll take that off of there. I don't want a stupid sticker on there, but it is what this is. Like I said, I'm not really interested in a debate between USA and Chinese. It is a well-made Schrade parts knife. I think that's the best way to describe it. And for $40, I mean, let's just try to put all the other BS aside, for a minute, and just evaluate this knife for what it is. And if you can find a knife of this quality with Stag handles, with this heft and this quality of blade and materials, go ahead. And for those that are on the forums, and they're just so anti-Chinese and all that, I get it. I'm not asking you to do anything you don't want to do, but if you're not being if you're saying this knife is complete garbage, you're not being objective, and that's just a fact, because it is pretty well made. Now, am I going to say it's better than the USA made ones in Element? No, I don't know that to be true because I don't have one, but I can tell you just from experience of handling more than 300 different knives that it's not a poorly made knife. And it's quality made, and you can't argue the parts quality. Now, the only thing you maybe argue is how well it's assembled. So, kind of leaves you to down a path that there's really no answer for. There's going to be people on both sides of it, and I'm not going to try to pretend to be on one side or the other because I'm just not. I'd rather stay out of that debate. The knife is really well made, and I think for $40 it's a real bargain. So if you agree, you can go over to Smoky Mountain Knife Works, take a peek. $40. Like I said, anywhere else I've seen it, it's $80. So basically half off. And they're still available over there. And just do a search for Schrade USA Lockback. I think that'll pull it up. Schrade USA Stag Lockback. Again, I hope that you guys have a fantastic day. I hope you enjoyed the review. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell to be made aware of videos when they drop. Please do give this a thumbs up because it does help the video get more views. And if we want to grow the community and the channel and sort of get everyone on a equal keel in terms of their association with the channel, because I know there's a lot of people that want modern or just traditional, and I think that sort of separates the community when we do that. So hopefully this channel kind of brings everyone together, because I intend to kind of do both modern and traditional reviews. But that's going to do it for me, guys. We'll see you next time. Take care.